A passenger plane vanished over the Andes in 1947. No distress call. No wreckage. No survivors. Just one final message. Not Mayday. Not SOS. A single word. STENDEC. Most stories have another side. This one's just a little stranger. I'm Bill, and this is Buffalo Air Park. Let's dive in. August 2nd, 1947. The world was already on edge. Just weeks earlier, headlines were screaming about a flying saucer recovered in New Mexico, what we now call the Roswell incident. Now, shift your attention south. A sleek aircraft called Stardust sits on a runway in Buenos Aires, preparing to cross one of the most unforgiving mountain ranges on Earth, the Andes. This wasn't a modern jetliner. It was an Avro Lancastrian, a converted Avro Lancaster bomber. Same bones, different mission. Gun turrets removed, seats added. Hope for the best. No pressurized cabin. Passengers breathed through rubber oxygen tubes, cruising at 24,000 feet over jagged, frozen peaks. And the airline operating it? British South American Airways, run by former wartime pilots who carried over a kind of, let's call it confidence, or, depending on how you look at it, risk. There were 11 souls on board, a crew of decorated RAF veterans, and a passenger list that reads like something out of a novel. A man rumored to be carrying a large diamond sewn into his jacket, a king's messenger literally handcuffed to a diplomatic pouch of classified documents, a widow transporting her husband's ashes, and a former tutor to European royalty. You couldn't write a more curious cast if you tried. The flight climbs, crosses Argentina, and heads straight towards the Andes. Everything appears routine, until 5:41 p.m. The radio operator, Dennis Harmer, sends a Morse code message to Santiago. Estimated arrival? 17:45, just 4 minutes away. Then, he adds one final word, STENDEC. The ground operator receives it loud and clear. But there's a problem. STENDEC isn't a word. It's not aviation terminology. It's not a location. It means nothing. Confused, the operator asks for clarification. Harmer responds, not with a correction, not with an explanation, but by repeating it twice. STENDEC, STENDEC. And then, nothing. No further transmission. No distress call. No radar contact. The Stardust simply vanishes. Search teams comb the Andes for days. Nothing. No wreckage. No smoke. No debris field. It's as if the aircraft disappeared into thin air. And, for over 50 years, that's exactly how it stayed. Naturally, theories spread. Sabotage. Espionage. Theft of the diplomatic pouch. The diamond. And of course, aliens. In fact, the mystery became so famous that a Spanish UFO magazine would later name itself STENDEC in honor of the message. And it didn't help that this same airline would lose 2 more aircraft, Star Tiger and Star Ariel, both gone without a trace, fueling what would eventually be known as the Bermuda Triangle. Then, in 1998, more than half a century later, 2 climbers ascending Mount Tupangado make a discovery. An engine, half buried in ice, stamped with the letters, Rolls-Royce. In 2000, an expedition confirms it. Twisted metal, propellers, human remains preserved by the cold. The Stardust had finally been found. And the explanation? It wasn't sabotage. It wasn't aliens. It was something far more subtle and far more dangerous. The jet stream. In 1947, pilots barely understood it. These high-altitude winds can exceed 200 miles per hour, and Stardust flew directly into one. Imagine running while blindfolded and suddenly stepping onto a moving treadmill. You think you're moving forward, but you're not. Captain Reginald Cook was navigating by dead reckoning, speed, time, and heading. With no ground visibility in a snowstorm, he believed they had already crossed the Andes. They hadn't. So he began his descent, straight into the mountain. What followed is known as controlled flight into terrain. The aircraft struck a near vertical glacier at speed, The impact triggered an avalanche that buried the wreckage almost instantly. Hidden, frozen, carried slowly downhill by the glacier for decades, until the mountain finally gave it back. So the crash is explained, but the message, STENDEC, some say it was an anagram of descent, a mistake caused by hypoxia. But here's the problem. Hanna sent it 3 times, perfectly. Others claim it was an acronym, creative ones at that. But let's be honest, if your aircraft is about to hit a mountain, you don't send a puzzle. You send SOS. The most likely answer lies in Morse code itself, because Morse isn't made of letters. It's a continuous stream of dots and dashes. Sent quickly, spaces blur, letters shift, meanings change. That same signal, interpreted differently, may not say STENDEC at all, but something far more ordinary, like SCTIAR, a routine sign-off, Santiago Airport, over. In other words, not a mystery, just a message, misheard. No aliens, no conspiracy, no hidden diamonds bringing down an aircraft, just a storm, an invisible wind, and a single misunderstood transmission echoing across a mountain for 50 years. And yet, even knowing all that word still lingers, STENDEC. Because sometimes the explanation makes sense, but the story still feels like a ghost. And that wraps up another tale from aviation's stranger side. Until next time, keep your eyes on the skies.